My name is Daniel Brooks. I'm 35. I work in a mid-sized marketing firm, the kind that runs smooth on the surface, but underneath, it's full of quiet tension, power games, and carefully disguised ambition. I've been married to Claire for almost 10 years. She's 33, sharp, driven, incredibly social. We met at a corporate mixer when I was just starting out. She was magnetic, the kind of woman who made everyone in the room feel like they were the only person that mattered. We clicked instantly. I was stable. She was fire. It worked. We built a life that looked perfect from the outside. 2 incomes. 2 cars. A cozy house in the suburbs with white walls, a golden retriever, and weekend wine tastings with other couples from the office. We were the couple others pointed to and said, "They've got it figured out." At least, that's what I thought. Claire had always been close with a guy from work. Let's call him Eric. He was charming, well-dressed, funny in that try-hard way, but people liked him, including Claire. I used to joke that they were office twins. She'd laugh, say he was harmless. A little too flirty, maybe, but harmless. I should have known. The first cracks started to show when she began texting more at night. She'd giggle at her phone, then lock the screen when I walked by. When I asked who it was, she'd say group chat or Sarah from accounting. I didn't press it. Why would I? We had trust. Or so I thought. I was burning the candle at both ends, working late to land a huge pitch, one that could earn me a promotion I'd been chasing for 2 years. Claire said she understood, said she supported me, said she was proud. But some nights, I'd come home past 10 p.m. and find her already in bed, smiling at her phone screen. She'd look up and say, "Long day?" before turning over and pretending to sleep. One evening, I came home early, surprise dinner in hand, takeout from her favorite Thai place. She wasn't home. It was 8:30 p.m. No call. No text. I called her. No answer. Then, a message. "Sorry, babe, girls' night. You knew I was going out with Nina and Leah tonight, remember?" I hadn't. The next day, I casually asked Nina how the night went. She looked confused. What night? That was the moment something deep inside me went ice cold. But I didn't explode. I didn't accuse her. Not yet. I smiled. Nodded. Said maybe I got the days mixed up. Then I started watching. Really watching. Patterns. Late texts. Mysterious meetings. A new perfume. The way she suddenly cared about her nails again. And the way her laughter started sounding like it was meant for someone else. And then, one morning, in the office kitchen, I saw it. Eric, leaning too close. Claire's hand on his arm. The quick glance when they noticed me. And then that silence. That sudden shift in air, like I had just walked in on something I wasn't supposed to see. That's when the walls of my marriage began to collapse. And I knew something was happening behind my back. Something big. After that morning in the office kitchen, I couldn't unsee it. The body language. The tension. The way Claire's entire presence shifted when Eric entered a room. So I stopped giving her the benefit of the doubt, and I started documenting. Every late night. Every vague girls' night out. Every text she'd try to hide by tilting the screen away. I wasn't going to confront her until I had facts, until the truth was heavy enough to crush the lie. And soon enough, I had more than enough. I borrowed a friend's help. He works in IT. Within a day, he helped me install a recovery tool on our shared tablet. Claire had synced her phone to it once. Carelessly. And just like that, her hidden messages spilled into view. She and Eric had been exchanging flirty texts for months. At first, it was suggestive. Harmless-seeming jokes. A little office innuendo. But by mid-spring, it had escalated to late-night fantasies, hotel plans, and full-blown confessions. "Eric, I wish you'd just admit you've already left him emotionally." "Claire, you know I have. Being with you feels like coming up for air. He's just routine." Routine. That word broke something in me. I had sacrificed my time, my sleep, my peace, grinding every day to build our life, keep the roof over our heads, pay for her weekend retreats, her yoga studio, her little designer bags, only to be called routine. But the worst part? She wasn't even planning to tell me. She wasn't leaving me for Eric. She was having both. I was the structure, the home base. He was the thrill, the reward for surviving domestic life. I didn't react. Not yet. Instead, I reached out to someone I had only spoken to briefly at one office party. The woman I remembered being introduced as Eric's wife. Her name was Madison. I found her on Instagram. Messaged politely. No drama. "Hi Madison, this may be out of the blue, but I think we should talk." It concerns our spouses. Please let me know if you're open to a short conversation, privately. She responded within an hour. She'd been having suspicions too. Her voice cracked on the phone as she told me Eric had started coming home late, showering before she could kiss him. He suddenly had out-of-town trainings that never appeared on his calendar. She'd found an unfamiliar earring in his car, brushed it off. Until now. I told her everything I had. I sent screenshots. She fell silent, then whispered, "Oh my God, she was at our house." Apparently, Claire had once dropped Eric off after a company dinner. Madison had made them coffee. They'd sat in her kitchen. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was intentional. And that's when something shifted inside both of us. We weren't going to just be victims. Not anymore. We decided together to confront them. But not with screaming, not with tears. We were going to do it strategically, with precision, and with witnesses. We planned it carefully. Madison and I weren't just two wounded spouses. We had become allies. And now, we were going to deliver the truth in a way they'd never forget. Not in secret. Not behind closed doors. But in front of the very people they deceived to maintain their shiny little facade. There was a quarterly office banquet coming up, an after-hours event our firm throws every few months at a fancy rooftop bar downtown. Everyone attends. Employees. Their partners. Even higher-ups from corporate. Claire and I were on the RSVP list, and so were Eric and Madison. Perfect. The plan was simple. We'd act completely normal up until that night. Keep smiles on our faces. Pretend we were still the supportive spouses everyone thought we were. And when the right moment came, we'd drop the truth, with witnesses. The night arrived. Claire wore her favorite wine-colored dress, the one I bought her on our 7th anniversary. I told her she looked stunning. She beamed, completely unaware that tonight would be the last time I'd ever compliment her. Madison and I coordinated over text all evening. At the event, I played the proud husband, held Claire's hand, smiled at her colleagues, laughed at her stories. Meanwhile, Madison and Eric made their grand entrance late, his hand on the small of her back like he was the world's most attentive husband. Hypocrite. We waited until just before the speeches started, when the room was buzzing, everyone had a drink in hand, and the atmosphere was light. Then, Madison stood up and tapped her glass. Everyone quieted. "I just wanted to say a few words," she began, her voice clear and steady, "about partnership and loyalty." Heads turned. Claire glanced up from her phone, confused. Madison continued, "We all show up here pretending we're part of this great big happy family, that we're committed to each other, at work, at home. But sometimes, some of us forget what commitment really means." A murmur rolled through the room. Then I stepped forward, standing beside her. Claire's smile froze. Eric's drink halted midair. "Funny thing about secrets," I said. "They always find their way out. Especially when you're careless enough to text your affair partner on a shared iCloud account." There were gasps. Madison raised her phone, displaying screenshots on the screen. Photos. Messages. Location tags. Even one shot of Claire and Eric checking into a hotel 45 minutes from the office during what was supposed to be a vendor meeting. Claire's face drained of color. Eric looked like he'd swallowed broken glass. I locked eyes with my wife. 10 years, Claire. I gave you 10 years. My time. My trust. My heart. And you traded it all for him. She opened her mouth. No sound came out. The silence was louder than any shouting match could have been. Then Madison turned to Eric and said, calmly, "You left your daughter's recital for her. Hope it was worth it." People began whispering. Phones came out. A manager awkwardly tried to usher us aside, but it was too late. The truth had exploded, and there was no sweeping it under the rug. Eric stormed out. Claire followed, stunned, humiliated. And Madison and I? We clinked glasses. No revenge could erase the pain. But watching the lies collapse publicly on their stage was the closure we both needed. The fallout came fast. Claire moved out 2 days later. She didn't even try to fight it. No begging, no tearful apologies, just quiet packing, awkward silence, and a final goodbye that didn't feel like an ending. Just a pathetic whimper after a roaring storm. Eric, from what I heard, didn't have it any better. Madison told me he showed up at her sister's house trying to explain. She didn't open the door. Instead, she mailed him divorce papers 3 days later. He moved into a motel. I won't lie. There were nights I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the spot where Claire used to drink her morning coffee, wondering how the hell we got here. Grief is strange like that. It doesn't show up all at once. It drips in, slow and steady, in the quiet spaces between distractions. But strangely, I wasn't alone. Madison and I stayed in touch. What started as late-night calls to vent turned into conversations that stretched until 2 a.m., talking about everything, our pasts, our hopes, the small stupid things that made us laugh again. We were two people who had been betrayed in the same, deeply personal way. And somehow, that created a bond deeper than sympathy. It was understanding. Real understanding. A few weeks later, I invited her over. Nothing romantic. Just a shared meal. Two people trying to put broken pieces back into place. She brought a bottle of wine and a lemon tart she made from scratch. We ate. We laughed. We talked about how weird it is when your world flips upside down, but you're still expected to show up to work like everything's fine. And at the end of the night, as she stood at my door, she smiled. "I'm not saying I'm ready for anything," she said. I nodded. "Neither am I. But maybe," she added, "we don't have to be alone while we figure it out." That night, for the first time in months, I slept without waking up in the middle of the night with rage burning through my chest. Because I realized something. Closure doesn't always come with revenge. Sometimes, it comes in the form of someone who looks at your scars and says, "I have those too." Madison and I didn't rush anything. We took long walks, talked for hours, went to movies and sat 2 seats apart. There was space. There was patience. And above all, there was healing. A few months later, when the dust finally settled, we were sitting on a park bench watching her daughter chase pigeons, and she looked over at me with that soft, tired smile I'd come to love. "You know," she said, "I never imagined the worst moment of my life would lead me here." I took her hand. "Neither did I."